Hey everybody, thanks for tuning back into my channel, and if you've noticed the thumbnail to this video, it's how I was able to pay off $24,000 in less than 2 years. And if you want to keep watching, I'm going to give you 5 simple steps on how to pay them off. So the first step to actually paying off your student loans is acknowledging that you have a problem with spending. See, when I graduated back in 2016, I had a part-time job, but it wasn't paying bills basically. And so I was like, okay, I know my student loans are gonna be up for repayment in 6 months, which means that probably by January, I would have to start paying off those student loans. And I went on the search of finding a job, and luckily I found a job in November of that year, which left me with a couple more months before I started paying them off. However, I was still in that phase where I actually started splurging. I got a new apartment, and with the new apartment, I decided, because I also have a new job, I wanted to get a new car. So I got a brand new car, I got a new apartment, 2 expenses. Since I got a new car, I had to get full insurance, full coverage. I was buying things, $400 there. I was spending $200 here. I was spending like $50 here for a pair of shoes. Going to clubs, eating out at lunches, because the place where I work at, there's a lot of great places to eat lunches around in the area. So I was just spending money left and right, only because this is the first time that I actually had a real full-time job that I considered, better than what I used to have before. So it was around probably May when I was realizing that I still had a lot of debt. I had quite a lot of debt because with the new apartment, it didn't have a refrigerator, so we had to buy appliances, so we ended up spending money on a fridge. And we ended up putting it on credit because we decided to split it, and at the time my roommate wasn't making enough money, so we had to put it on my credit card. And I think at this point when we started to buy things that I had to put it on my credit card, I knew that I probably wasn't being smart about money. So we ended up sitting down probably around May of that year, 2017. So this is coming to the next step, which is number 2, which is to set up a budget or a plan. So around this time, I had really hadn't looked at like how much I actually owed overall, because when I got my new car, I also had to pay up front an amount which I didn't have, so I ended up putting it on my credit card. So in total, in May of that year, I realized that I was $24,000 in debt. And this is when we sat down and we set up a budget, and we were like, okay, so what are the things that we need and what are the things that are just wants? So at this point, I'm just going to be really candid. So I knew that with my new car, I was $300 a month. My insurance was around $140. My cell phone bill was around $90. I did have a cell phone. We did have cable, and that was split between us, so that was $90. And then our rent, which luckily enough, when we first got the apartment, I hadn't got the job yet, so I was only still working part-time, and my roommate was in college, so she wasn't bringing in a source of income besides her student loans, which is pretty horrible because, she also got student loans. So we were able to get the apartment for a lot cheaper than most places, and everything was included. So I ended up only having to pay monthly on my part of the rent, which is $230, and that includes all utilities. So on top of that, we also had to pay off all the appliances. So we had budgeted then as well, monthly, how much we were going to spend. So that was around, I would say, $150. So total, that's this amount here. I'll put it in the actual captions later. And I thought to myself, okay, so that's how much I'm paying out of expenses, what I make monthly. I still have 2 jobs, my part-time job and my full-time job. So how much am I able to actually put towards my student loans? So I calculated everything out, and I was able to recognize that I could put towards my student loans about $1,000 a month. And I know that's a lot for some people, but you got to realize that I literally cut out everything. I literally was just working to pay off my student debt. So for those 2 years, I made a lot of sacrifices. I didn't go out to clubs. I didn't do like lunches that often, out to eat. If anybody wanted to do something that involved spending money, I would turn them down for the sole purpose of wanting to pay off the student debt. It was my plan and it was my focus. And it ended up working. I ended up paying off all my student loans, all my debt free. So step number 3 that helped me along the way, which I think would help you, especially when someone is trying to get you to spend money, not really spend money, but get you to do things in which you're going to have to spend money because you're going to have to be really frugal. And that is to make a mantra. So for me, my mantra at the time was using it in my passwords, in all sorts, like my emails, at work, anywhere where I needed to use a password. I changed all my passwords, which I'm going to change them now because I'm telling you guys what I put. So I hadn't turned 30 yet, and I was going to turn 30 in 2 years from that point. Actually, it was supposed to be the next year. So I had put in my password that I wanted to be debt-free by 30. So I put debt-free _30, and I put it in all of my different passwords. And this was my way of setting a mantra that every time I would have that type of my password, it would get a reminder in my brain that my goal was to pay off my student loans and be debt-free and not have any debt under me at all. So that's what I did. You can also, if you didn't want to put it in your password, you can write it on a piece of paper, but something that you can look at to always remind you of what you're doing. So it could be a piece of paper, you put it into your wallet, and it writes, it's a little mantra that says, I am going to pay off this amount in this amount of time. Just something that always reminds you to pay it off. So that's what I did. And step number 4 is to hold yourself accountable. So I remember when I was probably like 6 months into paying off my student loans and I had started this routine. I remember telling people that what I was doing, like I was telling people I'm going to be debt free by 30. And I remember there's some people that would like laugh at me. They would be like, yeah, right, you're not really going to pay off your student. You're not really going to pay off all your loans, and by the time you're 30, you crazy? That's what, a year from now? You're not going to do that. So I think that really struck a fire underneath me to actually push to do it even more and to like prove them wrong, like, yeah, the freak, I am going to do it, and I don't care if you think it's a joke, but it's going to happen. And I'm grateful for doing that, for telling other people, because it really did hold it accountable to myself as well. It made me kind of feel a little pressure, a good kind of pressure to like show them that I could do it. It was definitely helpful. And step number 5, which I think is one of the most important, is to stick to the plan. Because it can be very easy to stop, paying off student loans, or to get tempted into doing other things. So that means you have to make sacrifices. Like if someone's asking you to go out to the club or like go to lunches, or just not, you get this sudden impulse, you see something that you want to buy, you're going to have to be able to turn them down when someone wants to go spend money. Or you don't really have to turn them down, you just have to make sure that they understand that you have a goal, and if they wanted to do something with you, to try to do something where you don't have to spend that much money. So yeah, I started in May of 2017, and I finished a little bit earlier. I finished, I think, in April. It was in April, I believe it was April, to pay off my student loans, and that included not only my student loans, but the car loan that I had got for the initial down payment, and also appliances that we had to spend for moving into this apartment. And after I was able to pay off everything, the bonus was that I was so used to paying $1,000 a month on my student loans that ever since then I've kept up that routine, and now I'm just basically just banking the rest of the money because I'm so used to doing it at a certain way. I mean, now that I'm paying off my student loans, that I'm basically debt free. I was debt free by 30 because I did turn 31 this year. Actually, I think I was. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I was debt free by 30. Whoop, whoop. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video and if you have any comments or suggestions, if you'd like to subscribe, definitely do so below. Leave a notification box. But I want to know what are the things that you're going to do to pay off your student loans in the future, and if you have paid off your student loans, how did you do it? Because I would definitely like to know. And if you would like to know the story on what I'm going to be doing with my savings, please let me know as well, and I will let you guys know what I'm going to be doing with it. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.